Come on, my friends, join me. We're going to take a little bit of a trip down the rabbit hole. You know, one of the interesting things about the Battletech franchise or universe, however you want to look at it, is the fact that it is as old as it is, and that we've had so many very different companies and creators have their hands in the pot. And so there's these series of mechs, tanks and other things, but mechs specifically, that are introduced or were introduced if you go back to FASA. And it's important to take into account FASA. So FASA was actually producing their own in-house magazine or newsine, depending on how you wanted to look at it. And it started out with Stardate, and every now and then they would add material for BattleTech or for Shadowrun or for any of the other game systems that they were working on or they were supporting. And then later, when BattleTech took off, they created an entire series called Battletechnology, and this is a magazine that was written and published as if you were there. So everything in the magazine, from cover to cover, is as if you are in that era of BattleTech, and this is something you had delivered to your mailbox or you bought off of a shelf somewhere in the local community. So there's a number of mech designs that have appeared that are deemed non-canon because for one reason or another they don't become officially introduced in a source book or a technical readout or something like that. And although my argument would be that it is near canon because frankly they were introduced in a published source material for the game, right? So as an example, the pillager that everybody loves to hate or loves to love that we have today, based on the original entry, was a mech design that was showcased in it was, I want to say, Stardate magazine. It was either Stardate or in Battletechnology, and I believe, and I swore I wrote that down. Of course, yeah, Stardate says the PLG-1 and Pillager was in Volume 3, Issue 5 of Stardate magazine. And it didn't become official, quote, canon until it was introduced into one of the later TROs. Or no, it was a game supplement. It was something else, and then it was added to a later TRO for the era. So there's a slew of these things, and some of them are either undergunned, underpowered, or completely inappropriate for the game setting. Although most of those would not have been unofficially published or near canon, and others would be advanced and progressed and changed, and some just either considered too out there or not quite ready for mainline production. So people weren't quite ready to have this type of option available to them from the game mechanic standpoint. So, and where am I going with this? Where am I getting with? What the hell is the Huntress? Because that's what we want to show. Now, this is an after 3D rendition of that model, which is much superior than the original. Because here's the original. And it's kind of blurry because I mean it's a secondhand download off of the internet, and it was free and etc. So one of the things that was off-putting by this mech, of course, was the tracks and the treads, and that was literally what they were. The legs were treaded. So when we look at these Tri-V vehicles that we hear talk that a lot of people also love to hate. You get the idea that somehow that's a new idea. No, I'm sorry, it's not. That's an old idea that they rehatched. It's like your protomechs. I hate to burst the bubble of anybody who thought that was something new and fantastic when they were first introduced. And I will grant you, the only major change that they did with the prototypes versus the mini mechs that they came out in the 80s and early 90s, which were also, quote, officially unofficial canon, because once again they were introduced in Battletechnology or Stardate and was never progressed into a canonical readout or source book or something like that. But the fact that it doesn't change that they were 10-ton light, they were called ultralight mechs, and one of them being the MTE-12C Mite. And some of these actually have been made canon in latter years. You can find them introduced here or there or referenced or material. For example, you can go look up Sarnanet or just Google the Mite and see how that crops up. And so, I mean, I really liked this design when I first saw it, because I thought, holy crap, this is like, it serves a role. And what you're looking at here is a pair of sniper artillery cannons. So this is a cannon mech. This is an artillery mech. So we're going to go down and read the entry we got here. Now, designed as an artillery mech, the Huntress was the most successful of the experimental designs produced by Rebel Industrial Technologies in the late Star League era. When the Star League attacked the Rim-World's Republic world of Krelakor in late 2767, a battalion of Huntress artillery mechs were deployed against Fortress Green, hidden in the world's dense and near impassable jungle, softening up the defenses from afar. Yeah, my damn stuttering. Built from highly reliable components, an estimated 30 to 40 functional Huntress mechs survived into the late Succession War era, mostly with House Steiner and House Kurita, although the Huntress was never produced in great numbers to begin with. Weapons and equipment. The Huntress is built around its two thumper artillery pieces, which defined the design and its role. The mass of these guns made the design heavier and slower than originally intended. For defense against the more direct threats, the Huntress also sports two Delta Dart LRM-10 launchers and two Martel medium lasers. Canonicity. The Huntress was only described in Battletechnology, which is not counted as a canonical source anymore. Consequently, the Huntress must be considered apocryphal, however y'all pronounce it, as well at this time. A ruling by the then line developer Randall N. Bills to the effect that all mechs from Battletechnology are canonical was originally rescinded by a successor as line developer Herbert A. Bias II. Well, Herbert, what was your reason? What was your reason for dismissing those designs? I'd sure like to know. The Huntress is described as an illegal design under current construction rules. At this time of the publication, the Huntress formalized design quirk rules did not yet exist. Arguably, the illegal quirk should apply to the design that it takes such liberties with construction rules. The thumper artillery pieces take up more critical spaces, 15, than are available in the side torsal sections that they are mounted on, which only have 12. According to its write-up, the mech lacks 3 internal structure boxes in the side torsal sections to mount such big guns. Gee, I don't know, a slight modification of that would take care of that, wouldn't it? Just saying. And you could do it. So you up the tonnage just a hair, or you change it. You know, and by rights we talk about super heavies. This thing is easily could have been ratcheted up 20 or 30 tons, turned into a quote super heavy, and then qualified for its role. And frankly, when I first saw them introduced, a friend of mine actually put a couple of these things into the field, and my God, they are definitely a powerhouse. But their limited roles really kind of limit what you're good at. I mean, one of the things that it occurred to me when I was looking at the Huntress, when I was looking for review, and you know, this is one of those items that I every now and then I blather about in other videos, and I'd been looking because my copies of the Battletechnology issue disappeared, and I don't have one to find it, but I knew it existed, and I was having a deuce of a time finding it, and eventually I lucked out on many searches finally coming across this thing. So we look at what it's saying as the artillery support machine that's mobile. This thing is by definition, and I look at the so-called tracks on the big broad feet, and think this thing either is designed to allow actual tracks so the thing can be maneuvered and pivoted easier as it's in its artillery position, back and forward, side to side, kind of, you know, that kind of thing. It also would help it to negotiate much rougher terrain that it might be unbalanced to do if it's on its feet. The other thing is it always made me wonder, since I never could get any solid information on it, so it was left up to the imagination of the player at the time too, was that these legs actually extend a little bit. What I mean by that is, we can see in this position that it's sitting now, is it able to stand up on the tracks at the bottom? So like it would be standing on its tippy toes or something in order to walk better. I don't know, but that's not something that was ever really addressed, because apparently this was not favored by the powers that be. So we go and it says, although it has only 12 side torso spots instead of the needed 15. Although the side torso locations are mentioned have their internal structure reduced to 18 points, normally 21 points for a 100-ton mech. Altogether, 43 points of armor allocated. 43 points of armor allocated to each front and rear side torso location, which is one more than 21-point superstructure could support. So you can see where there's questions in their design and its stats being functionable. In absence of official record sheet for the design, it's possible either or both of the aforementioned illegal construction features were in error, as they could easily be corrected by moving no more than 3 critical slots around on the record sheet and rearranging armor distribution. Judging from the artwork, the Huntress was unlikely to feature hand actuators. The construction rules would allow to split the artillery gun's critical slots between the respective torso and arm sections with no need to reduce internal structure. If the design either has no hand actuators or another critical slot is moved elsewhere, such as moving the LRM ammunition to an unallocated critical slot in the leg. So basically what we're saying is that in early rule set mechanics, the thing wasn't legal. It wasn't street legal, so it would be highly modified, highly suspect, and probably very dodgy. Not the sort of thing you might want to take to 12,000 feet just for a Saturday afternoon jaunt. Just saying. Yeah, I know that's a crap shot. So the truth is that the machine in newer editions now, today, absolutely would fit the bill, and it would also be functionable because the rules have been adapted and adjusted to make it so. So what we're looking at is the production information for the Huntress. Manufacturers Rebel Industrial Technologies. The model is HNT-1S Huntress. Class Assault. Technical specifications. Mech type Inner Sphere Battlemech. Mass 100 tons. Chassis Reb L1. Armor Star Slab. Engine Valor 300. Communications ROMTech 100. Targeting tracking systems ROMTech 125J. Heat sinks 12. Speed 54 kilometers per hour. Armament: 2 thumper artillery pieces, 2 LRM-10s, and 2 medium lasers. And let's see. And it doesn't include the ammo, or at least I don't think the copy I had showed how much ammo this thing was supposed to carry, but it was pretty limited. I want to off the cuff of my shoulder say it either carried 5 or 10 rounds of reloads for each artillery piece. So, and those are some pretty robust rounds. And that was one of its many flaws too, is that it's a missile boat, and we all know how missile boats love to blow up. Now, if you take this thing into combat where you're going mano a mano with other mechs, you're kind of going to be screwed, because this thing is not going to be your friend. You better have some solid support to back you up so you can get out of the situation you're in. But in limited roles, artillery roles for assaulting fixed positions, assaulting fortifications, I keep coming back. When I look at this machine and I look at the stats and I look at the images, I keep thinking of the German 88 flak gun that became such a ubiquitous symbol of the military, German Wehrmacht and the Nazis. The fact that this damn gun could function equally well as an artillery piece, as an anti-aircraft piece, and could be completely depressed down to literally be an anti-tank weapon. So this thing, if you could get a lock on somebody that's close enough and hit them with one of these artillery rounds head on, 2 of them, could be a killer, could be a mech killer right there. And then of course we talk about fortifications and fixed positions. You got to bring a lance or even accompany these things up within artillery range and just hammer away at your target. And you should be able to continually maneuver and sidestep and change positions much faster than the traditional mobile artillery units that the game allows. So, what's your thoughts on this sort of thing? Is this the sort of thing you could actually see in the game? I mean, given the tracks, the weirdest part about the damn mech is its track, feet, leg setup. Because if you look at the leg actuators and things like that, it really doesn't appear to me that the mech is designed to stand up and walk on those things. That the things are actually going to do more like a lumbering shuffle forward while being assisted by the tracks themselves. And if it's totally dependent on the tracks to get around, then by definition it's no longer a battle mech. By anybody's standard of the game, this would not be a battle mech if it's dependent on them treads to get around. I mean, just saying, in my opinion. And if you got some others, you got some thoughts, by all means, jump in, toss them up. Let's get an idea of what we can and can't do. And this isn't the only one. There's a few others that I think I'll do some videos on over the next few months, just because. Not really my thing, these mech videos, but because I don't have all the updated knowledge and tactics and strategy and stats that a lot of y'all got, which makes me feel a little inadequate. Anyway, until next time, this is Rick, and hope you guys have yourself a great weekend. Because you want the cat girl.